Okay, today we're gonna do classic patch note reading. Now, before we go and look at the patch notes, I'd like to extend some messages from myself and I. I appreciate feedback on Vault Hunter development, and I appreciate constructive criticism as well. I do believe that today we are going to go through a topic that is going to cause a bit of an upset with a lot of people, or some people. I and the team are fully invested in making Vault Hunters the best game it can possibly be. And let me define game just real quick. Okay, I'm not gonna dwindle, I'm not gonna dawdle. Game to me is a thing that plays and that gives you as many hours as possible of entertainment. What a game is not to me is a simulator or something like that. It can be a game, but that is not the game that I am developing or that we are developing. We're developing a game that plays and has a lot of different aspects that at times needs balancing and counterbalancing. And you know what? Sometimes we get it wrong, right? And other times we get it right. And so when it comes to feedback and stuff, I would like to remind everyone that you may not always have the full context of things, and feedback is always best shared when it's about something that we are currently implementing or currently changing. I've noticed that there are a lot of feedback things being sent about things that we aren't really looking at that moment in time. And while this can be valuable because it can sometimes highlight something that we forgot about or something like this, it's not necessarily something that we immediately will act on. I've also noticed another thing. I'm trying to be transparent and public about things, but there are a lot of things that I don't share, and mostly because we haven't figured it out yet. I can take a recent example. Everyone remembers the Davy Jones locker mechanic, the death mechanic that we are making in update 15 part 2, which removes soft locking from the game. Everyone remembers that. I had loads of feedback and suggestions from a lot of the community members and the champions and the goblins as well that are part of the dev Discord, because they contribute to the game and they contribute to the dev team being paid. And the perk is that they get a highlighted channel, they get to see some information before others and stuff like this. I had loads of different suggestions and things, and I actually chose to not comment on a single thing. So to the public eye, to anyone who is suspicious about Iskall and my vision about the game, it may very well have looked like I was ignoring those suggestions, but in fact what I was doing was that I was cooking. Yeah, no, I was in the kitchen, stove on, you know, heater on, and I was cooking. And so I took what people said and I considered it and I thought about it, but I don't have time to interact with every single feedback post. Sometimes we do some Reddit reads. Mostly I do those because of content, because I think it's funny, okay? Like, some people have got this the wrong way. They think that, oh, Iskall only builds the game on stream. Iskall only builds the game off of Reddit. Oh, I gotta make sure to get a good Reddit in so people will hate on Iskall a bit so that maybe he sees it. No. Most of the time when I open Reddit, it's for content. It's a funny thing. At the end of the day, some suggestions and feedback and ideas are just shit. I'm sorry. But not everything that people suggest, in fact, a lot of it is kind of bad and doesn't go in terms of the vision of the game. Like, what do you want me to say? The problem is that I have one vision and other people will have other visions. And a lot of it I don't like. A lot of it I think is just bad. And I don't like them. But a lot of them I do like. Again, we have 182 things in this game solely because of the community. Not because of me, not because of anyone from the dev team. But yeah, there was a lot of talks yesterday about how disconnected we are from the community in Vault Hunters. And I don't think we are. I actually don't think so, no. What we aren't, though, is we aren't a professional studio. Not even a professional indie studio. We're not. We're making a Minecraft mod pack. We're having a bit of fun. And thanks to the guys here on stream that are so damn generous, and thanks to the patrons, we are able to get the people working in Java code, the people working in Photoshop, the people working in Blockbench, some money in exchange. The people working in JSON. Yeah, and that's as simple as it is. We're trying to make the most fun mod pack, the best mod pack there is, and there's a lot of passion from the community, which is awesome. But don't for a second think that I don't read and take in feedback, and don't for a second think that a lot of the things that you guys say is just ignored. It's not. It's not. A lot of things are considered, but a lot of those discussions are kept internally, mostly because we haven't figured out a better way yet. Like, mostly because, okay, so someone is saying, we have an issue with AD at the moment. There aren't enough AoE options. Okay, well, you know, we aren't actually talking about this, but we are working on it. We are thinking about it. Let's take another example. Oh, axes suck. Boys, I've been trying to solve axes for the past year. Someone coming in and saying, oh, they should cleave on every hit and be AoE. I mean, we've tried that. Someone else coming in saying they should have attack reach. We've tried that. Like, it's easy enough to come in and say this is the best solution. And then we've already tried it. We've considered it. You have? Yes, we have. Cleaving axes was the standard the entire last season. Or 2 seasons ago now. Yeah, of course we have. I think sometimes there's a lack of trust and lack of, like, belief in what we are doing, and that drives toxicity in this community. Unfortunately, I have not nurtured toxicity in this community, but there is a lot of toxicity in this community, and I'd just like to say this. Look, I'm sorry to say this, but how the F did we get here? Well, we got here because of the community, because of the dev team. We're not that incompetent. We managed to make a mod pack with 5 million downloads, with thousands and thousands of active players. I mean, we've done something, right? I think like this. Just because feedback isn't necessarily vocal and spoken about doesn't mean that we don't take it into consideration. This is my life, guys. And, you know, on Discord, they're talking about how Iskall's chat is just yes man, and you know, they just do what Iskall says and all of this stuff. Whatever, man. You know, whatever. It is what it is. We're trying to please 80% of the player base. That's our goal. And we're making a fun game for everyone. Or for most people. Vault Hunters is never going to be the best possible game for every single person in the world. But I think it's pretty damn good. Yeah, I think so. And I'm having a ton of fun. And I know that a lot of people are as well. And that's great. Let's read some patch notes with this in mind. This patch will not be out for a while. This is like the first changes we are making to what we are going to call part 2. Okay? And so everything that you see today is going to run on the SMP. We're going to get it balanced, right? We're going to probably run it on the early access for the patrons, so the patrons can try it as well. We're gonna get some balance features in. We're gonna make sure to that we haven't overlooked anything. But now we are working with part 2. We're not working with a hotfix. We're not working with a micro patch. We're working with a big part 2. Yeah, and this is kind of the first part of that. Man, I'm excited, dudes. Okay, here we go. Some of these things are probably gonna like shock people. Be like, what? I like it. Where do I start? Okay, requirements for all players on the Vault Hunter SMP. These things are recommended for any player once part 2 releases, in case you're interested in keeping the intended balance of the game. Nothing that's forced upon you, nothing you need to do. But I wanted to add this as a, you know, if you want to maintain the balance as it's supposed to be, because some things were overtuned or wrongly configured, then yeah, you should follow these advices as well. Okay, so this is what we need to do on the server. We need to delete any immortality potions, as the potion will still function. We need to turn 92% of our fundamental focuses into soul dust. And we need to choose any and all echo cards. And you know why we are doing it on this server? Is so that I get as much tested data as possible. So that we can redo this when we launch to the public. Maybe 92% is too harsh, you know. But yeah, it's undergoing balance basically. Card updates. Fixed echo cards incorrectly using the medium pool for tasks. Medium pool expects 2 to 20 completions per average and average unmodified vault. So echo cards, in case you're playing and once the patch comes out, just know that they're wrongly configured. They're wrongly configured because of me. It's my fault. It was a lazy fix that I did when Kara got the unconfigured echo card, and then I forgot to fix it before we released to public. And so yeah, if some people think that echo cards are so insanely good, they are good, but they are targeting the wrong completion pool at the moment. Same with waning and waxing focuses, but they aren't as bad because they're not using the medium. They are not supposed to use the extreme pool that this pool is called. We added a bunch of new resource cards, including fruit cards in this patch. Exciting, more resource cards. We added new resource tasks, including dungeon mob clearing and champions, which I don't know why I didn't add from the first place. Probably just, I'd written 6,000 lines of JSON and I was tired in my brain. The more expensive the resources, the more likely it is to have these things. I don't think there is a chance for you to get a plating card that requires you to kill dungeon mobs, for example. Deck updates. We are still planning on massively extending both the variety and the function. So this is what I mean. I've been trying to write down to be transparent about what our plan is because nothing is finished. But yeah, we're still planning on massively extending both the variety and functions of deck. Functions include things like foil cards have plus 10% efficiency in this deck, or slot-based things that give specific slots a condition and a boost. So for example, maybe you find a treasure deck and it has 2 slots. One of them is like red cards in this slot are double as effective. Or another one could be like arcane cards in this slot doesn't require their base condition to function. So deck finding is going to become a lot more diverse once we get that feature in. We're not done with card decks and plan to expand and add further variety to decks. Yeah. Decks can now be juiced in the card essence extractor. Hell yeah. They all have different values. So treasure decks I think has 3 as essence value. Just be careful, guys. Because if you juice a deck with cards in it, all the cards get deleted. Unfortunately. Maybe there's a fix we can do before we release to public. Some new decks added for you to find. Themes. Ice themes probability have been reduced from 20% chance to 5% chance. New sub-theme added. Aurora. This is a sub-theme to ice themes. Man, Rockin did a fantastic job. This is such a beautiful theme, by the way. And it's kind of ironic that he had been working on an ice theme and then we reduced the overall ice themes. Potion updates. Immortality potion removed. Since I've talked about this so much already, I hope that if you want more info on this topic, make sure to check out the Vodskal 85 channel. Speed 1 potion has been removed. Mega Jump cast potion removed. The reason for these two being removed is because both of them played poorly. Speed 1 potion was actually too weak, in my opinion, and Mega Jump cast potion was just weird, like the way it played out. Absorption Heart potion has been buffed. So instead of getting 2, 4, 6, and 8 hearts, you now get 4, 6, 8, and 10. I actually think that this is going to be a new, maybe a new meta even. Like I'm curious to see how strong this is. I think it's pretty damn strong. So basically when you drink a potion, you get absorption hearts. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be pretty strong. We'll see. Spirit Totem potion buffed. This is thanks to a Reddit post, actually, thanks to the community's feedback. We have this guy on Reddit who tends to do like a lot of mathematical equations and stuff, and while the Spirit Totem isn't the same straight up as gaining mana, because it's also adding mana per second, which means that you can combo it with things like Rampage and other things to make it work differently than just straight up mana. This person was right. I think it was too weak previously. I may have overtuned it. You know, we'll have to see, right, what the early access server reports comes back with and what the Vault Hunter SMP server comes back with. But right now, it's been quite heavily buffed, thanks to the community feedback. So cooldown potion rebalance, so the top tier of 80% is moved to 70%, which I think is good. We fixed the speed 2 potion to actually add plus 2 speed. It previously actually only added 1 level of speed. And then I added a jump 4 boost potion. I am keen to see how this stacks with like feather, with the feather and with like playstyles of like the Super Mario Stompa builds and stuff like that. I think this is interesting. It's way better than the Mega Jump cast. Vendors. New vendor rooms have been added to the mix. Some have more, some have less shopping pedestals. Paggers. And I'm hoping to get even more rooms before the public update. We currently have 3 now. We have one that has 2 pedestals, one that has 3. That was the one that we had. And then we have one that can roll 4 or 5 pedestals. Soul shards. Modifier soul chance, change name to soul quantity. Has this not been something that's been bothering anyone else? Or has it just been bothering me? It's constantly been bothering me. And so yeah, now it's called soul quantity. Soul shard cost in black market has been tripled. And soul shard drop rate from mobs has been tripled. So in essence, let me explain this because I think that this can very quickly like be misunderstood. Basically what we are doing is we are lowering the value of soul diffusion. We're saying that the delta between soul diffusing items and killing mobs is not good enough at the moment. In fact, there has been numerous mathematical equations done on this from the community, thank you, showcasing how many mobs you have to kill versus how many chests you need to loot if you're looking for soul shards. And the last one that I saw claims that it's about a 60-40 favor of looting for you to get soul shards. So it's actually not better to kill mobs to get soul shards, it's better to loot chests and diffuse what you find. Which, in my vision, it's not aligned to my vision. Soul shards, as in you get the soul from the mob, it's a loot. I want to incentivize killing mobs. Rather than removing soul diffusing, which I personally love, I love the idea that you can take overflow and you can diffuse it and you can get value out of it. Like, basically, you can trade, you can trade wooden chunks for vault gear, essentially. Yeah, no, I really like that. But we have tripled the value of doing this. We've sliced the value of the soul diffusing down by a third. Oh, talking about soul shards consuming magnet durability. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that's a good point. I think so. I like that. I wonder if it's not just better to account for more soul shards with a magnet. Maybe you're right. Yeah, you might have a point. I don't think this should affect magnets negatively. I think that's actually a good point. Okay, now we're coming to the section that I'm expecting a lot of pushback on from a lot of people. And as I go into this section, I just want to say, I love you guys. My goal and the team's goal is to make Vault Hunter a game that suits most people and is fun for most people. Over the course of the past 2 years, we have had a gigantic focus on the casual player base and making sure that, a lot of people can play this game regardless of skill level. And the next change can definitely be conceived as being aimed towards elite players. And I think it is a little bit. Yeah, I think so. However, I think that it's done in a way where it doesn't harm the casual players. In general, these updates aim to make gear finding more interesting. Currently, there is no real difference between Omega Helmet 1 and Omega Helmet 2, as everything can be re-rolled. We want there to be a great Omega Helmet find and a not so good Omega Helmet find when it comes to its total potential. We feel that the changes mentioned below will make this the case, without making the not so good Omega Helmet bad in any way. Some of these changes are being made with more future context in mind, okay? Including but not limited to the new focuses and their usage. So the cryonic, the pyretic, and the empowered chaotic focus. Durability and soulbound has been moved from the implicit group to the base attributes on the item. Durability can be re-rolled using resilient focus, which will remain the rarity they are now. Soulbound cannot be altered. Either an item has it on drop or it doesn't. A fundamental focus may be used to update an item to this, but is not required. Yeah, so basically, the legacy items don't actually have this, but it doesn't matter if you use a fundamental focus, they get put into the new category. Fundamental focuses can no longer be crafted. Fundamental focus drop rate from crates are lowered by 92%. This does not include vault cards. It simply means that fundamental focuses, which had a guaranteed role in every completion crate tier, has been changed, altered. So they are now a rare find. Repair slots on gear can no longer be modified. Repair slots now generate between 1 to 8 instead of 2 to 5. Lucky hit chance roll on helmets have been slightly increased. This is actually wrong. It's not slightly increased. It's been normalized, meaning lucky hit chance now has the same chance to appear as block chance. It's got slightly lower than crit hit chance. Yeah, it's normalized. It's with the other special ones, with the mana, with the block chance and all that. Crafting potential is now tied to the gear piece instead of the rarity. This is important, guys. Follow along. It can never be increased. An opportunistic focus will simply reset it to the gear's default. This is also true if you use a pyretic focus to upgrade the gear's rarity. So if you identify a scrappy piece and it rolls between 20 to 80 potential, let's say that it lands on 60, even if you upgrade it to a common, it is going to still have 60 crafting potential. Okay? And then the crafting potential base rates have been changed and no longer scale with level. So a scrappy item will roll between 20 and 80, a common 50 and 120, rare 90 and 190, epic 140 to 80, and an omega rolls all the way from 180 to 500. To demonstrate this, why don't we go inside the game, right? Inside the video game machine, because it's easier to visualize this. So previously, this was an issue. These 4 omega helmets that I found previously are all the same. Mind you that this one we rolled 5,000 times to get the lucky chance, right? Do you remember? But like, focus on these 3. They're all the exact same. Nothing with these helmets matter, because what I would do is I would take it and I would click the button in here, this button, as many times as I needed for the gear piece to get the implicits I needed. And then I would do the same with the wild focus. And then I would do the same to finite the prefixes and suffixes. It was a bit of a clicking simulator. Now, let's identify 4 omega helmets with this new system in place. And let's look at this. So, okay, the first helmet that we get has 2,948 durability. It's in the mid-range, right? It also has very high crafting potential, 444. And you know what? The AP rolls on this helmet are pretty good. Yeah, this is a pretty good base rolled helmet. Let's look at the next one. Wow, okay. Higher durability, perfect armor, very good ability power, 4 repair slots. This had 5. The crafting potential is significantly lower, meaning that the more I roll this gear piece, the more expensive it's going to be. But it's still a pretty high roll. Let's look at the next one. This one also has a high crafting potential roll. The durability is considerably lower. And the AP is almost perfect. And the last one, as I said, lucky chance has been normalized, so you will see these a lot more frequently. Only has 1 repair slot, but has that lucky hit that I was looking for. And it has 2950 durability. Now, for people paying attention, I don't actually think I wrote this in patch notes, but for people paying attention, we have also moved the durability affix to suffixes. And as you can see, the roll range of the durability is much higher than what it was before. So it can roll up to 7,000 extra durability. And my idea with this is, because prefixes are the most important things, I can see a world where people, you know, go in and they have 1 repair. Okay, maybe I will sacrifice a suffix for like a pretty good durability roll, because right then I almost double this value, right? 2950 as base durability and plus 2000 durability. With this, I see durability all of a sudden being interesting for people. Hopefully, we'll see. But I think that in the suffix slot, you can afford to sacrifice a power affix for a life affix, if that makes sense. I personally think that if you consider the idea of making every single Omega one you find unique and feel like something that feels good, I think that this system is 1,000 times better than what we had before. Yeah, I think so. I think that identifying gear previously, you only looked for legendary. Now, I think you're going to look at the Omegas and be like, okay, actually, you know, I don't have that many fundamental focuses, so I'm going to be more interested in the implicits than I have ever been, right? Implicits are now more important to get right on the gear that you find. And I think that's a very good thing. Yeah, I think that's a very good thing. I think so. I think that's very important. It's not that fundamental focuses are impossible to get a lot of, because there are cards in the game now. You can build a resource deck with fundamental focuses, and you still get them in ornate chests. So, but you just don't get a flood of them in the completion crate, which was an update 15 thing, by the way. Another thing that people may misthink, and I think it's important to say, is that people need to remember where Vault Hunter's baseline is balanced at, okay? And what do I mean by that? Well, Vault Hunters is balanced towards you not ever having to roll any gear piece. At any point where you take your time and try and maximize your gear and try and make it better, you are getting powers that you don't need to win the game. A lot of people have been complaining about AP. I also think that this actually balances AP a little bit, because now it's going to take a little bit longer, not impossible, not at all hard, but a little bit longer to get to that state where every gear piece in your AP set is maxed. I'll give you guys an actual example of my AP build. Yeah, I mean, we used fundamental focuses to just get these implicits immediately. This is the first set we did. I call this low effort set. 25.5 is the lowest I have. 27.5, 25.5, 26.5, and what, 28 is max? Right? But in reality, is it a little bit more balanced to maybe say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go with this helmet. And since we have removed durability and soulbound as the baseline implicits, you can actually... I shouldn't use these now. You can actually get higher AP, but it's going to cost you a little bit more investment. You have to invest a little bit more if you want to have higher AP. I think AD is more OP and easier than AP is. Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think that AP is a lot easier to play than AD. But I do think that AD is stronger than AP. Or I know that it is. Like, mathematically it is, if you get good at the game. Yeah, you need to hit your shots, though. You need to be in danger. It's in a good place, I think. I think so. But AP is massively much easier to play. Because, you know, you can be range. You click a button. You don't have to aim. Like, you have to aim some abilities. But, like, take Nova, for example. Poison Nova. Thundercloud. Like these are not, like, very skill-heavy abilities. And I think that's great. You know, I love that it works that way. I love that it works that way, yeah. The AP skill comes more from movement than from, like, the combat fighting. And I think that's great. It's just further diversity. Diversity in my mind, yeah. Guys, actually, you want to know something funny? There is a faceted focus resource card now that gives you a random faceted focus with every task completion. Kind of interesting, you know, kind of interesting, actually. You know, it's like a little bit of an internal gamba. Yeah. But anyway, so gear changes. Basically, the way I can summarize this is that we, from the development side, want to make every single finding of a gear piece more interesting. That's our goal. And I think that this is going to mean that you're going to have a more interesting time looking at the different gear pieces, rather than just consider the rarity. Look, I don't think it's bad to consider the rarity. I think that the game, that it's healthy to scrap most gear pieces you find. That's how most action RPGs work, right? I think we do need something better to do with vault scrap than just crafting gear. And remember this line here. Some of these changes are made with more future context in mind, including but not limited to the new focuses and their usage. I think all of this will get cleared for you guys in a few months' time. I think you can go back to this day and say, I get it now. I understand. But just to, like, throw some things into the fire, right? Maybe this allows us to look at gear crafting differently. Maybe this change makes it so that gear crafting can be changed in some way. Even though I think that it's pretty good the way it is. The journey is kind of boring, though. Okay. Cryonic, Pyretic, and Empowered Chaotic Focus are now obtainable on the Vault Hunter SMP server. These will have a proper placement further down in the development, but we are still waiting for the challenge room updates. All of them can be found rarely in black market and vendors. These placements may not persist in the 15.2 release. Both on the SMP and on the pre-release server, I just want to see some usage from players. I just want to see how they function. And all of these, specifically the Pyretic, ties into these changes. I said this before, although it hasn't been internally decided, but I feel like it's valuable to talk about. In my idea, what I would like to do, now that we have these changes, I would like the Cryonic Focus, which freezes a modifier, to work on Scrappy. Because it gives Scrappy Legendaries a place. Currently, I feel like Scrappy Legendaries are useless. They're just fun for the museum. But if you could freeze at 50% chance the Legendary modifier and then upgrade it, keeping the garbage potential, meaning it's going to be very expensive to upgrade them, Very expensive. We're talking like 100,000 bronze, right? And like 5,000 plating. But if that was a thing, I feel like that feels like I have made this piece. I got a really good scrappy with 8 repair slots, with high durability and a legendary. I want to freeze the legendary and I want to upgrade it all the way to Omega. I'm going to take the cost of the low crafting potential. I'm going to farm bronze. I'm going to farm plating. Like, I'll do it, you know? It feels like something I have made. And why do I think this is a good idea? It's because it's an opt-in. It's because it's a min-max opportunity, okay? People don't have to do it. If they get an Omega Legendary and want to gamble that 16.5% instead to freeze the modifier, they should. And the outcome is that they get a lot more cheap. They get a lot cheaper item if, but for a slightly worse gamba. Scrappy doesn't need to be viable in endgame. I'm not talking about Scrappy being viable. I'm talking about finding a Scrappy Legendary and allowing you to upgrade it all the way to Omega after you've frozen the Legendary modifier. I'm talking about you putting in the extra effort, you min-maxing your gear piece, being valuable for the game. Anyway, these are the vault changes, and I am expecting people to not fully get why we're doing these things. I understand, but the goal from us is to make it more exciting to find different vault gears of the same rarity.